So Claude just dropped skills, and let me be clear, this is not just another AI feature that nobody uses. This is Claude arguably becoming the best AI tool on the market. But here's the issue. Most people are going to read about it and just forget about it entirely, missing the insane potential sitting right in front of them. Now, I've been spending the last couple of weeks diving deep into Claude Skills, testing everything from analyzing emails and website funnels to building websites. And what I discovered blew my mind. So in this video, I'm going to share 19 ways to use Claude Skills that you probably didn't know about. Starting with use case number 1 is Skill Creator. This is a process of using Claude Skills to create Claude Skills. It's very meta, but it's important you understand why this is so important. So for starters, let's just land on what Claude Skills are. Think of skills as a way to extend Claude's capabilities. It's like training a human employee a specific repeatable task. Skills provide specific procedures that are only used when needed and work everywhere across Claude. So why is this use case so important? Well, by using their Skill Creator skill, you're able to streamline the process to create any skill that you want. And by streamlining this process, you literally just have to go into chat and say, use Skill Creator to create details about a specific skill. And I'm going to use this throughout the entire video. So let me walk you through a use case that uses this. Use case number 2 is Email Analyzer. This can turn the painful process of reviewing emails into a simple 1-minute task. The beauty here is you can connect Claude to your email. For example, I have it connected to my Gmail. And then you can create a specific process for reviewing your email. In this case, how I want to do it is I have it review all my emails and then it drafts a response for the important ones that I can just copy and paste. And it then lets me know which other emails I should look at and why. And this showcases the power of Claude Skills. To do this, I have to connect to an external resource, Gmail. I have to have knowledge about my writing style in order to draft the actual email, and then it has to put it all together to create a response that's readable and repeatable. To create this skill, I use the Skill Creator I mentioned in the last use case to summarize my Gmail. Into the chat, I say Skill Creator, summarize my Gmail. This is a pretty low effort prompt, but it then asks me specific questions to make sure it gets it right when it's creating this skill. After a couple back and forths, it creates a .skill file. To use this, I go into Settings, click Capabilities, and hit Upload. Then it's uploaded and you'll see that the toggle is enabled. On this page, you'll see other skills. And if you want these enabled so that you can use them while prompting Claude, make sure that the toggle is on so that way you can actually use it. This process of creating a custom skill is the exact process I use for a lot of the skills I cover in this video. So this is exactly how you can do it. After going back and forth, it creates a skill called Gmail Summarizer. To use this, I can go into Claude, and because my Gmail is connected, it'll work properly and it'll review my emails and give me a detailed response. You can imagine the power of this when you start thinking about entire organizations collaborating and becoming AI native. If everyone uses the same Gmail Summarizer skill, entire processes can be streamlined and people don't have to solve the same problem twice. It's like downloading a skill into your brain so you don't have to learn it. It's pretty trippy, but this is the power of Claude Skills. Which brings us to use case number 3, which is all about brainstorming, which codifies your team's creative process. This is a use case that I find really interesting for 2 reasons. The first is where I found it. The second is how it could play in a team environment. This skill is part of a public repository that anyone can access. It sits on GitHub and I can just download the skill and use it. This is crazy because people are going to collaborate across the world to improve these skills. And over time, these skills will get better so that this skill, let's say in this case, brainstorming, gets optimized by thousands of people across the planet. And eventually skills will become obsolete because you no longer need them because you could just download it like it's computer code. So I download this skill, I upload it, and in this case, I'm brainstorming ideas for my business, and you'll see that it actually pushes back on the idea that I present to it. This specific brainstorming skill is interesting because as you collaborate with people and you want to make sure that they have a consistent train of thought when they're evaluating their decisions, by codifying it or creating a skill, you're making sure that you're staying consistent over time and you're honing this brainstorming craft like anything else. And if you're in a team setting, right, you can make sure that everybody's using these same brainstorming techniques so you're all on the same page. Use case number 4 is domain name brainstormer. This is another example that I pulled from a public repo. This one is specifically for domain brainstorming. Going back to the best practices for when to use a skill, one of the clear things is you want to focus on specific repeatable tasks. In the case where you want to use ChatGPT or Claude to go and generate URL names, how exactly it goes about it is kind of a toss-up, and it may use the wrong tools to get the answer. But in this case, once you've created a skill, you can just download it and use that. And then in the future, no matter what, it'll use the same processes. Here you can see me using it and it generates a bunch of URLs that I can go ahead and use. Some of them are pretty fire, but one of the problems is that some of them are actually already taken. So I go back and forth with it. I talk about the issue, it resolves it. And what you can then do, and this is a pro tip across every skill, is you can ask it to update the skill so that it doesn't make the same mistake again. And what this means is over time, if you continuously do this, you'll harden these skills so that they'll work exactly how you want them to. All right, let's get to use case number 5, which is Real Estate Analyzer, all about running investment analysis in seconds. One of the benefits of Skills is that it lets you create strict templates for completing specific tasks. And what this means is that you can much more reliably run the same analysis repeatedly versus if you're just prompting Claude through a typical chat or project. And as a result, real estate analysis is something that's a perfect use case. For this skill, I've created a structure on how I want to evaluate real estate properties. I have it calculate monthly costs, what a typical rent is in the area, expected renovation costs, projected IRR, and cash-on-cash returns. All things I typically do by hand. And I use it by bringing in a Zillow listing, and it goes through and analyzes it. And Skills specifically excites me because it limits the chance that AI will hallucinate and just give you a wrong answer. And one thing I do want to call out is that these skills can actually be called through code. So if you're building an application, instead of building a whole web scraping tool and real estate analyzer, you could just call this skill specifically and it'll speed up the entire development process. And as somebody who used to build scrapers just like this is an absolute game changer. Use case number 6 is PowerPoint Generator. Now, creating decks isn't a new skill for AI, but Claude Skills allows you to specify key things, call it fonts, best practices, headers, etc., and it follows them directly. To run this, the PowerPoint Generator skill is already integrated, so if you just tell Claude to generate a PowerPoint, it will do this on your behalf. If you'd like to customize it, use the Skill Generator skill to create a custom PowerPoint generation skill. Personally, I don't create decks that often, but a ton of people do, and how I would use this is I would use it to generate a structure and maybe get me 50% of the way there with all the styling, and then I would just build off from there. These skills aren't just for PowerPoint, it extends to Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. And the beauty of Skills is, again, how precise it can be. And for document creation, that becomes very important. Building off of this PowerPoint generation, use case number 7 is brand guidelines. Let's say we want to apply brand guidelines directly to the deck we just created. We're going to use a skill that Anthropic has preset, but you can imagine this being whatever brand you want it to be. If you watch here, you can see me invoking Claude to apply the brand guidelines, and it triggers the skill and then starts running. For any of these, as it goes through the process, you can click in and then see it referencing the skill directly, and that's how you can know if it's actually using it. If you look at the screen, you'll see a before and after of applying the brand guidelines, and clearly it looks like Claude. The beauty here is you could adjust this brand guidelines to whatever your brand guidelines are. I wouldn't underestimate how valuable this skill actually is. Historically, for large teams and big corporations, right, when you release something, it has to be on brand. That's how these companies build brand equity. For example, McDonald's, the Golden Arches. For example, Nike, Just Do It. Brand is so important. And this costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time to maintain. But if you create a skill that anybody on the team can call and it adjusts things automatically for you so that it aligns with your brand guidelines, this can streamline the creation process for really anybody in an organization. So it may look as simple as changing the colors of a PowerPoint, but this has massive implications. Let's go to use case number 8, which is custom doc adjustments. This is about restructuring a file in a unique way. You can take one file and convert it to something else. Let's say you're creating a technical docs for people at your company. You often need to dumb these technical docs down. You can create a custom skill that takes tech docs and converts them to business-friendly documents. One thing that I do a lot is I'll make documents or prompts that are specific to me, but I want to either share them with my team or with people watching my content. So in order to adjust documents, I created a generalized skill on Claude where I wanted to take a skill that I personally created and then generalize it so that anybody can use it. This extends to a bunch of use cases, from converting emails to an internal update to converting a complex product doc to a business-friendly overview. You can see me using this custom skill here where I go back and forth and I generalize a skill file. Use case number 9 is internal comms, and it's about standardizing your team communications. This matters because creating communication is something that every person in a big corporation has to do. And it's likely very repetitive, and it's one of those things where you want everyone on the team being on the same page. Let's say you have 10 people and they're all creating FAQs, but in slightly different formats. It becomes a total pain to make sure that everything aligns and that everybody's doing what they need to do. So this use case specifically is actually a predefined skill that Claude comes with out of the box. Here you can see me that I use it to create an FAQ doc. and it's specifically for Claude Skills. Then I use it again for a different doc, my personal brand, and you'll notice that the output is the same format. It might seem trivial, but you can imagine this fixing inconsistencies across entire organizations. Instead of people having to learn how to create FAQ docs and just like what they should look like, they'll just be able to give this skill information and it'll do it on their behalf. Now, quickly before I dive into a skill that's specifically about making websites, I do want to address something. As you're watching this, I don't want you to be worried about AI. I want you to feel excited about it. And that's why I created a free 5-day email course, How to Use AI to Become Irreplaceable. Each day breaks down one major trap and how you can avoid it. It's the first link in the description. It's entirely free, and based on feedback from hundreds of people who've came from YouTube, I have a good feeling you are going to love it. And if you don't, I guess I no longer fuck with you. I'm just kidding. Unsubscribe to the email at any time, no problem. All right, let's get to the next 10 use cases that build on everything that I've mentioned to this point. Use case number 10 is about creating artifacts, which is building micro apps in seconds. Artifact Builder is a really simple tool, and it's their take on vibe coding. This allows you to build a website directly in Claude, which is really cool if you're, let's say, a marketing person and you just want to visualize an idea, or there's an internal tool that you want to build. In this case, I'm using this specific skill to create a UTM link generator. It creates a website that anyone can access in minutes. The beauty here is that you could just make these micro apps in seconds to solve problems that you normally would never make an app for because it just wouldn't make sense. But now it does make sense. Like, you wouldn't create a tool to help someone generate a UTM, but now you can. And this skill specifically is built into Claude, and it's actually how they create websites throughout their entire app. They're effectively dog fooding their own skill, which is a tech term for testing your own products. This is something that we did a ton at my last tech startup, and it's pretty cool that Claude is using their artifact builder to build websites themselves. Use case number 11 is about Notion skills. So Notion decided to create their own set of skills, and they have a directory of all these skills. They've elected to build out specific skills for Claude users to leverage. And I expect other companies to follow suit, which will abstract the need for company-specific knowledge. Think of it like this. If AI were a person, a skill could be, you know how to create a database based on a list of information in Notion. And Notion has elected to codify this skill, so it's very easy for AI to execute on. In this case, I downloaded a skill called Building a Notion Knowledge Center. I can upload this skill now directly to Claude. I bring in a YouTube transcript from a creator I love, Jeff Sue, and it then asks me clarifying questions about what it wants to do with this transcript. I tell it exactly what I want, and bang, it gets it done. It's pretty epic, and I'm telling you, this is the future. Use case number 12 is Funnel Analyzer, which will help you fix conversion issues. This skill specifically will take a URL and analyze the website and come back with recommendations on how to improve it. When you're creating the skill, you can specify things you want it to look for. For example, abstraction is the enemy of conversion, so make sure everything is simple and easy to use. For this skill, I set up Firecrawl, which uses a custom MCP connection. There are plenty of tutorials out there to do this. If you click connectors and then add a custom connector, you can then paste in information from Firecrawl, or if you use Claude Desktop, you just click settings, then developer, and then edit config, and then you paste information that you can get directly from Firecrawl's website. I went through that quick there, but essentially the more data and the more tools that you can connect your AI to, the better it can be and the more flexibility it has. And for this skill, it really helped me analyze the funnel. After creating a custom skill for analyzing a funnel, it goes through, analyzes the website, and it suggests things that I can improve, which are all pretty great suggestions. And so now what I could do is I can go update my website, run the skill again, and see if it identifies anything new. Which brings us to use case number 13, which is about A/B copy testing. And something I want to show here is skill stacking. This skill specifically is about changing copy so that you can A/B test landing pages. Let's say you want an A/B test framework where one suggestion is more emotional, the other is more direct, and then the third suggestion is something that's very quantifiable. You can use this framework, create a skill, and then that skill can be applied to anybody who's using it. And after creating this specific skill, you can use multiple skills simultaneously. So for example, you could use the skill to analyze the funnel, and then you can use another skill that will create an A/B test. I like to think of AI like they're people, right? People normally will stack skills. If you know how to create a landing page, you likely know how to write copy, and you likely know how to review analytics. This is stacking skills on top of each other. And as you grow these skills, right, these are all the skills that your AI agent and your AI will use to automate entire functions. You can see here the A/B copy suggestions that it has for my website. Again, these are pretty epic. Let's say I didn't like it. I could respond, hey, These aren't great suggestions for these reasons. Can you update the skill so that this isn't an issue going forward? Again, improving skills over time. All right, going to the next use case, number 14 is a goal coach. This can help you stay aligned with what actually matters. In this case, I've created a skill that is trying to keep me aligned with my goals. So this skill specifically will ask you, what is our business? What are your current goals? And it can help you decide if what you're currently working on is actually aligned with this. One of the things that I like about Claude Skills is that it can determine when to use a skill. So what I can say when I'm creating this skill is how and when I want it to be evoked. So you could say, use this skill whenever I'm talking about something new or I'm discussing future plans to make sure that I'm on track with my goals. And when you're using skill creation, it'll ask you follow-up questions to make sure that when it creates the skill, it's properly optimized. So I create the skill, I upload it, and then I ask it if I should get into the restaurant business, and it clearly tells me that I probably shouldn't. A skill like this can be very powerful because it'll save people from themselves. If you could constantly have something that's checking to see if this is something new and then asking you questions or keeping you on track, that can be very valuable. So I anticipate having this skill enabled in the background for the foreseeable future, and hopefully it keeps me on track with my goals. Now, the next 3 skills all fall under a category I call hyper-specific actions. I'm gonna go through them quickly because they all have this one thing in common. They're things that everyday people will do, and eventually I expect these skills to just replace people doing it entirely. Use case number 15 is image enhancer. This is exactly what it sounds like. You can use these skills to actually enhance images. Now, I will say when I did do a test, the image itself didn't necessarily get better. And I actually found that I was better off using a tool like Nano Banana, but that's manual and that's a different process. I do expect this to be improved over time, but eventually I bet there's a image optimizer out there that you just use and it perfectly optimizes images. Use case number 16 is a Slack GIF generator. This is a fun use case where you can create custom animated GIFs that are specifically for Slack. If people are creating these things, let's just streamline it and make it so that they're uniform across the board. This does actually extend to more than just GIF creation. It's specific to asset creation. Let's say that you want every image to have a watermark at the bottom, or to have a specific border, or to have specific aesthetics. This type of adjustment can be systematized so that everyone can use it by calling the same specific skill. Use case number 17 is a Raffle winner picker. This is small but shows the power. It's exactly what it sounds like. It can pull a winner of a raffle based on a data set and based on the requirements you give it. So whether you need it to select 1, 10, or 15 people, or make sure people aren't selected multiple times, it goes ahead, selects the winner, and tells you exactly how it got there. The reason I like this one is because it gives you insight into how you should be thinking about using these tools. If you were writing code, you would probably make Raffle winner selection some sort of function that you could call in code. And what Claude Skills is doing is it's creating these programmatic strategies on the AI level and having specific frameworks for it to follow. So in the future, you may not be writing that code, but instead calling a skill. Okay, so those were 3 quick hitters, but these last 2 are critical to follow. Use case number 18 is a lead research assistant. You can use skills to identify leads. This is a public repo where I pull in a Claude skill and I can directly ask it to identify leads. It then follows up with what's your business, what are you looking to do, and what type of leads are you looking for? And it'll go ahead and research and then pull down a bunch of different leads. I think this is extremely compelling when you're building, let's say, a sales team and you have 10 different people. You don't want each person solving the same problem. If you're able to create your own skill that is identifying leads, that is templatized well enough that anybody in the company can identify these leads in the same way, that becomes very helpful. As we've gone through these skills, you might be thinking, isn't there other ways to solve these? And the truth is, yeah, you can do a lot of these things. But as more and more people start using AI, it makes sense for your lead identification in this case, or whatever your operations are, to be AI native. And this process of moving things from the traditional internet to the new internet, AI, is what I'm calling the Great Migration, where tooling has to be built from the ground up to be AI native. And this migration from the old internet that we normally operate on to this new internet is creating a massive opportunity. And so just let that simmer in terms of how you think about the future. Okay, the last use case is use case number 19, YouTube video to newsletter. This one use case is something that I do all the time, and it's about content repurposing. Specifically, let's say I have a YouTube video that does very well, and I have my monthly newsletter where I want to take this video and then expand on it for my newsletter. So this can be a skill that I actually teach Claude to do. To do this, I'll go in, I'll use the skill creator, I'll bring in a video transcript plus a previous newsletter. Now when I use the skill in the future, it has a proven conversion mechanism to build off of. Now the output is pretty solid, but I'm a little bit wary about this approach specifically for this use case because I think Claude Projects does this pretty great. And one of the benefits of Claude Skills is that like a lot of people can have it, but this is very specific to a specific person. So I'll continue to use Claude Projects in this case, but you can use a Claude skill for something like this. Now that wraps up the list of things you can do with Claude Skills. If there's any I might have missed or you have questions on, make sure to comment and I'll answer every single one of you. And now if you're already a user of Claude, I'm willing to bet you use ChatGPT, which means you need to learn about ChatGPT Agent. So click here to go deep down the rabbit hole and learn 25 ways you can use ChatGPT Agent that'll help you, no matter if you use it for work, for your side hustles, or just for fun. I'll see you over there. Peace.